Hey, welcome to this introductory video about peer instruction. This is the way learning typically has occurred. Somebody standing in front of a class dispensing information to students. And we're familiar with the traditional way of learning. Students then go home, often get frustrated as they try to go ahead and do the material that they learned about. And this is the case with most lectures. However, we do know that learning is changing with all the videos that are on the internet. I would say for the most part, we have school backwards. What do I mean by that? Well, we have students in class with us, the expert, to do the easy part of learning about the material. Then we send the students off by themselves to try to do the hard part of learning, the actually doing the material, with no support and resources. It's time for a change. I would say that means the flipped classroom. The flipped classroom is basically where students watch and learn material outside of class from a video, typically a video, not always, and then they come to class where they have class time to work on the concepts and fully understand the material with the support of a teacher and fellow students. The traditional flipped classroom basically just flips the direct instruction time and the traditional homework time and really doesn't change anything else. Sometimes it's referred to as flipped 101. So some teachers are like, what do I do if I'm not lecturing? That's a great question with a world of possibilities. So what is the best use of my face-to-face time? I know for me, it's not lecture. The students can easily watch a video of me or somebody else if they choose to learn about the material. They need me there when they're trying to practice and apply or need remediation or support with projects or having a great in-class discussion. This whole idea of what do I do if I'm not lecturing and what's the best use of my face-to-face time really leads us to the idea of the flipped classroom versus flipped learning. The flipped classroom is the traditional flipped classroom where the homework and the traditional lecture are just flipped and nothing really changes. Flipped learning is really focused on the students. Here are the 4 pillars of flipped learning. F is for a flexible environment. Sometimes you need to go ahead and change the physical setup of your room. Sometimes multiple times in a given day. L is for the learning culture. In other words, there's a deliberate shift from a teacher-centered classroom to a student-centered classroom, in which students are actively involved in the knowledge formation. I is for intentional content. In other words, the teachers are really trying to maximize their class time by adopting various instructional strategies, such as active learning, like peer instruction, problem-based learning, or mastery. And then P is for the professional educator, where the educator is continuously giving feedback to students and support to the students in a relevant manner. The second iteration of the flipped classroom for Aaron Sams and John Bergman was the Flip Mastery. Each student works at their own pace to get through the material, watching videos, doing the traditional problems, and then taking an assessment. If they end up earning 80% or above on that concept, they're able to go ahead and move on. If they earn less than 80%, then they go back and relearn the material and then take the assessment a second time. The second iteration of the flipped classroom for Ramsey Musalam and Troy Cochran is a Explore, Flip, and Apply, in which students are given an opportunity to construct some of their own ideas about the topic before learning anything directly from the teacher. Then there is problem-based learning or project-based learning, in which, just like with the last one, the explore, flip, and apply, problem-based learning is another example of not front-loading the material with a video. In other words, a student might be wanting to build a fuel cell, and they get to a point in the process where they need to learn how to balance chemical equations. So then they go ahead and watch a video about balancing chemical equations. Once they understand and know that, then they can go back to the higher level thinking of creating their fuel cell. Some teachers take the traditional flip model and adds aspects of gamification. Others take the flip learning and add the Genius Hour, in which 20% of the time is devoted to students working on projects that they want to learn about, that are not teacher driven. Some people even combine aspects of mastery, Genius Hour, gamification, and project or problem-based learning together, forming a hybrid. For the most part, John Bergman had said the traditional flipped classroom, the Flip 101, is like a bridge or a gateway to more student-centered active learning environments and strategies. If you choose to attend my session, which I hope you do, you will be learning a lot more about the flipped peer instruction approach, which I call the peer instruction flipped learning model. This was inspired by the work of Eric Mazur in the early 90s when he developed peer instruction. The peer instruction flipped learning model starts with students still learning the material before class, typically with a video. Then they come to class and they're asked a series of questions, typically conceptual and multiple choice. They try to answer those questions by themselves and then convince their peers of what their answer is and why. The peers that got the right answer just learn the material within typically the last 24 hours. And they're very easily able to help their peers who didn't understand it get over that bridge of not understanding to understanding. At this point, please go ahead and fill out the Google form. Visit my website, troyfaulkner.com, for more information about peer instruction, or visit the official peer instruction blog on the site listed below.